Converted lobster here. Oh man. Yeah. So this guy here we go. I mean, just just whatever. I can't. This guy is going to make me angry and irritated. And he's going to make you irritated. So I thought we would enjoy this irritation together. This hat actually makes a pretty good green screen. Go figure. I'm just delaying the inevitable, though. Let's just play the video, and I'll complain about it. I got to get on my earphones, which means I have to take off the lobster hat. Nah. Whoop. Oh. Whee. That's cool. All right. Sorry. All right. 3 real reasons atheists are afraid of being wrong, by a guy that named himself Logically Plausible Probable. I don't, not to spoil anything, but this guy wouldn't know logic if it came up to him and ate him.
Another episode of Logical, Plausible, Probable, where I attempt to break down the arguments that are being made by atheists and evolutionists as to why we should not believe that
evolutionist is not a word. Please don't do that. Please stop. Stop.
That God exists and that we were intelligently designed. Unfortunately,
intelligently designed? Really? I mean, how intelligent really would this God be that it made us so that the place that I eat food is right next to the place that I breathe, and there's this tiny little flap that makes all the difference between choking to death and being able to breathe. So that doesn't seem very smart. Could have put like an extra tube in there instead of having a little flap. My genitalia is both the pleasure zone and the place where I defecate. That's not very well designed. I could go on, but I don't think that the body of a human is very intelligently designed if you want to make that argument. Then at best you have a dumb God.
Fortunately for them, the evidence is becoming overwhelming that this is the case, but they still cling to the idea that we exist by accident.
Well, the evidence is overwhelming, you say. Would you care to share any with us? Any at all? Are you going to share any with us? Nope.
Before we dive into today's topic, please hit the subscribe button down below and make sure you get notified of when our next videos are coming up.
Now,
in this video, I really want to talk about something that I've noticed across the board as I watch these videos on YouTube. You read books, you watch documentaries and different debates by the supposedly top-level philosophers on both sides. And
if you're going to look at evolution, don't look at philosophers. That's completely and utterly irrelevant what they say, because scientists would be the right people to listen to and read. But for atheism, yeah, okay, you're going to listen to philosophers, I suppose.
One of the things I've really noticed is that all of the evidence in favor of God's existence gets completely dismissed by the atheists. And when you really contemplate things like genetics and the fine-tuned universe. And there's just a plethora of different elements that make it blaringly obvious that a creator exists.
Those things aren't evidence. Those things aren't even things. There's no fine-tuning of the universe. So, I mean, the thing that you're trying to refer to is a misconception done by many apologists about the word fine-tuning, and you don't understand how that works, obviously. And as far as genetics, that doesn't show anything other than we've evolved. So those aren't evidences for God. See, evidence of a thing would be evidence of that thing. Like, you know, like this image that you're seeing right now, that's some sort of evidence at some level of me, right? You know, I mean, I suppose you could be skeptical and be like, well, you know, maybe it's just, you know, a camera trick and that this is not my actual body or something like that. But then you would need evidence that that's the case. Now, certainly we can do camera tricks like the green screen. And, you know, maybe I'm just a lobster in disguise. But you would then incur that burden to show that this is not actually on the camera. So we don't have anything even remotely like that for God. When you go, here's God, you have an empty nothing to show us. So every evidence of God would be things that you think point to there being a God, and none of the things that you think point to there being a God point to there being a God, because most of the things that you think that point to God are not actual things and are just bad arguments that you've ripped off from other apologists who do the arguments better than you.
But they just completely refuse to even accept or even really consider the evidence. So why is that? Why are they so afraid?
You don't have any evidence.
Really taking a look at the incredible amount of information that's now available.
There isn't any information available. And it's interesting that you coach it in terms of being afraid. I fear absolutely nothing in regards to learning something new. Unlike many creationists, which clearly, if you're going to use the word evolutionist, I would dare say you're probably a creationist. I do not need to worry about learning something new that would ruin my beliefs, because I don't have any beliefs, at least not that I can think of. Maybe I have some belief. I don't know. But because I'm a skeptic and I doubt things, I'm not worried about anything new coming my way. I'm just, oh, that's interesting. It seems that there is a God. That's really cool. Okay, great. But there isn't any evidence of that thing. And the things that you think point to that are not things that point to it. And the things that you think are against it aren't against it. And then when you deny science, you basically make God not be real, because if you've intertwined a distortion of science with God and the two are linked, then that God cannot exist, because that God is not real. It's like saying 1 + 1 = 1,000,000, and that's the God that exists. Well, 1 + 1 does not equal 1,000,000, so that God cannot exist. So by denying biological evolution and tying that into God, you make that God impossible to exist.
Yeah, we got the
also, it really annoys me that you have an NES controller on your hat. I don't know why. I mean, just anyways.
Now, folks, you can go online and quickly look into these things, but they just completely dismiss it.
Okay, now listen. I know you don't understand the burden of proof at all. I mean, I don't know that, but I can infer that you don't know the burden of proof because you didn't give us a single thing to look at in your description on this video. There's nothing pinned. There's absolutely, just go look Go look for the evidence. It's out there. Go look for it. Come on. Give me something. Give me anything. Give me something. Well, look, as an example, you might use myself as an example, okay? Not to flaunt my own thing. Actually, I'm good because, I want to flaunt my own thing. So, okay, so just to use my own example, okay, so let's see. Okay, so here's my video on the Kalam cosmological argument. Now, you see this? Do you see all these words here? These are links to websites that explain things that I was talking about in the video. So if somebody wants to look deeper into the subject, they can click on those things and read them, because universals are extraordinarily simple. So I gave people information about that sort of stuff so they can look at it and go oh, I think I know what he's talking about now, but you didn't do that.
Why? The only thing I can think of as to why they wouldn't want to even think about these sorts of topics is if they crack that door, then the facade they've built and the followings and the influence and all the different things that they're currently enjoying go out the window.
What? I mean, you could say that easily for creationists and ministers, and you could say that you could say that about just about anybody at any level. This is a ridiculous ad hominem attack, and it's a straw man on top of that, because he's mind reading on top of that. So three logical fallacies for the price of one. Actually, for no price, because he's not charging, thankfully. But okay, the reason that he is afraid to learn anything or understand anything at all is because he would lose his influence, yada yada yada. I could do the same poisoning of the well. I could do the same thing. It doesn't give you any sort of argument against any of the thing that I or anyone else has said. No specifics are given, and not even a broad brush like theists, generally speaking, believe in a god. Well, by the definition of the word theist, that would be true. Okay. Then if I say, well, theists, believe in Yahweh, well, that would be less true, because only a select few theists, a little bit less than 33% something of the world's population, because, well, Yahweh, am I referring to just the Torah Yahweh, or am I referring to the Yahweh that's also the Torah and the New Testament, or am I referring to the Yahweh that's the Torah, the New Testament, and whatever the bleep the Quran has going on in that? Which Yahweh am I talking about? But still, I'm referring to a subgroup of theists, so it wouldn't be very honest to say theists believe in Yahweh, because then I'm only, I'm not, too broad of a brushstroke. But see, all of that would require you using, the thing that you named yourself, logical ideas and plausible things that are probably not within your grasp to do so. Also, my beard is better than yours, so. Okay, back to the video.
If suddenly the premise that you can just dismiss all of this is no longer a reasonable conclusion. For example, in my recent debate with RJ Downard over on Modern Day Debate, it was fascinating to me how, as I started to break down the aspects of the genetic code and how it is clearly and accepted in academia that it is a programming language, it is a code, it fulfills every aspect of what it means to contain and to transfer information and control logic rules, codon structure, syntax, semantics, all just different components about it. And really saying, hey, man, how do you conclude, even if you want to go down the rabbit hole of evolution, how do you conclude that the capacity and the requirements for DNA to exist and actually function and create life, how did that happen without an intelligence happening first?
Well, your appeal to ignorance and personal incredulity notwithstanding, the question, it might not have a necessary answer that we know of for sure, but the component bits that began the chain were far less complicated than what we have now. And as far as code goes, as I understand it, the different letters, the letters represent chemicals. So the different chemicals can be in several different arrangements and still get the same results. So it's a very clunky code. It's not a very good code. So again, that would make your intelligent designer kind of dumb, because a computer code would be far more precise. With binary, you have two options that you can make a lot out of. And programmers then, you to take that and make it into, syntax for programming languages and so on and so forth that are more understandable, some more than others, some less, whatever. For example, you have beginner's all-purpose symbolic instruction code. I still remember what BASIC stands for. But that primitive version of programming languages is not going to interface with the machine as well as C++ would, or as well as other, I can't name other programming languages because I don't know them, but other programming languages are even more sophisticated. And if you really know your stuff, I guess you could just program it in binary. And if you are at that point, you might as well make a microchip and that would be your program, and you could just do that if you wanted. But all of that is far more precise than the DNA code that we have. And the word code there is not the same as code in the computer. But you don't understand that, and you can't understand that because you're a creationist. So you have everything to lose by learning stuff. But let's hear about this debate that I'm not going to watch because that's just going to drive me completely insane, and evolution isn't my thing anyways. It's logic, so I can't really fix all the problems you have with that. And there's lots of people in chat. I'll get to you all after I'm done with this, it's how long is this? Oh God!
First, and it was very interesting how he just over and over again completely dismissed it. And
yeah, because it's not a thing. Like the thing that you think is a thing isn't a thing. So yeah, he's going to dismiss that.
The reason you want to subscribe, because I've got a whole bunch of videos coming up very soon to break down our entire debate.
No, thank you.
Hopefully,
by break down the debate, you mean perform a logical analysis? I'd love to see that. I'd love to see an apologist try to give a logical analysis of anything, let alone a debate. But you can't analyze a debate that you were in. You're going to be prejudiced towards yourself. I've been in debates. I can't analyze my own debate because I'm going to say, of course I won. I need someone else to do that. Whatever.
Educate him on why he is refusing to even accept any premise that he doesn't currently view fits his current mold of our existence.
Education would be something great for you to get, sir, because you're denying evolution, which just makes you kind of dumb, to be honest. Look, creationists have intertwined their dogma in such a way that it is inextricably bound to their concept of God, that evolution must be false, and that makes God exist. And that if evolution is true, then God can't exist in their twisted, delusional dogma. And so that God could never exist in reality because it denies reality. Now, the God of the Bible supposedly is not a trickster God. So we're told that God doesn't lie, although there might be examples of God kind of lying in the Bible. Maybe, depending on how you interpret it. But, if you squint this way and you kind of look at it sideways, maybe you can make it make sense. But at any rate, if that is true, if God does not lie to people, then all the evidence that we have about evolution could not be a lie. It couldn't be that, but we must all be mistaken. No, that would be redunculous beyond extremes. The fact of the matter is, there are people of all different religions and all different political affiliations that agree with the evidence of biological evolution because they looked at the overwhelming data. And, I don't even know where to begin with that, but because I said I need to link stuff, I guess I'm going to have to find a link to something about evolution and put it in the bottom later after I'm done complaining about this and after I talk to the chat, which I'm not ignoring. I see that you're there. I will get to you guys and gals and robots in a moment, but let me get through this guy. I don't think you've played Mario. That is a lie. Okay, maybe you played Mario. But have you played Othello? Because I will beat you in Othello. All right. Sorry.
Now let's get into some of the reasons that I think evolutionists and atheists are so unwilling to even consider any kind of alternative to their current positions, and that is fear.
Straw man. Da, 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 da. Oh, straw man. Bring me a straw. Sorry.
They are afraid of any possibility that they are wrong. But
no, I like being wrong because then I learn something new. So I no, you're wrong. Stop trying to read my mind. Stop it. Stop making a straw man. Just don't do that. Bad theist. Shame on you. Stop it.
But the first fear I think they are truly unwilling to even consider is that they might be accountable. They have a fear.
Accountable? Of course I'm accountable. I'm accountable to my fellow human beings, other living creatures to some degree, I suppose. I don't know that I'd put it at the same level with humans because, I'm a human, so I'm going to put humans above other living creatures. But absolutely I have accountability to all sorts of things. So I'm not afraid of that, but I bet you're going to say that this is accountability in regards to God, which I don't believe in. Therefore, I can't have fear of accountability towards that thing because I don't believe in it in the first place. But go ahead and keep going with your stupid straw man because, by the way, everybody thumb down his video. He needs more thumb down. Okay.
Fear of accountability. So if God exists and they are wrong, then all of the positions they have taken over the years, all the effort, all the people they have convinced that he doesn't exist and that there's nothing beyond this existence, if they're wrong about that, then there is going to be a massive level of potential accountability for them in the eyes of God from their perspective over somebody who never went down that path and trying to convince people that the opposite is true.
That assumes a whole lot about God that you can't possibly hope to know. I'm guessing that this is, look where I paused. This is in the middle of its weird transition effect. Let me, there we go. Okay. Now, we've got him in this weird face. That's a much better pause screen. Let me explain here, because this guy obviously just believes in his God and doesn't know that I guess he would know that there are other gods out there, which could also be, one of them could be true, or many of them could also be true for all we know. And some of them don't care what you believe, and others apparently do care what you believe. And it's always interesting to me that gods care what you believe, not what you can prove, not what you can verify, not what's factual, but God cares what you think in your brain. That's just really interesting. I wonder why that is. I've got some ideas, but at any rate, I'll let you all make your own. I'll tell you later, after I'm done ranting. But at any rate, if you're wrong about your God and some other God is true, and that God happens to care what you believe, and you believed in the wrong thing, then that God's going to make you do whatever it wants. Although I would say any God that is going to do something bad to anyone for any reason at all would be basing that action, essentially it would be an ad ballum. I suppose there'd be instances where you wouldn't say it was an ad ballum, like maybe this God punishes people based on how many people they've hurt in their lifetime, and then rewards them based on how many reward people that they've helped in their life or something like that. But even there, it's still this like, well, there's still a system that it's utilizing that could be seen as unfair to some degree because nobody knew about that system. But if it has this insane amount of ability, it's going to do whatever the bleep it can do, and there's not really much you can do about it. Although I suppose I'd try to fight it, but if you couldn't fight it, well, there's nothing you can do. But no God has made itself evident in such a way that I would no longer be unsure that it is a thing in the first place. So any God that offers a punishment for my not believing in it is an illogical God anyways, because it's just committing an ad ballum. And an illogical God is not one I can trust anyways, because it's illogical. And perhaps even I'd go as far to say an illogical being can't exist, so such a God couldn't exist anyway. So any God that would propose an ad ballum or an appeal to a bribe as a reward for believing in it would not be a God that could logically exist. So that wipes out a bunch of God claims. What else you got? Anyone else? Oh, we're still okay.
Second fear is the fear of being wrong and ultimately destroying their sense of self-worth. So
again, if I'm wrong, I learned something, so that has nothing to do with my self-worth. And also, you're assuming I have self-worth. Obviously, you haven't seen any of my videos. You would know that I have absolutely no self-worth at all. I mean, come on. Look at the stupid stuff I do. Oh, wait. I can't edit this video. Shoot. I mean, would somebody with self-worth, just to make the hammer the point home, would they do this? No! Of course they wouldn't. So, checkmate on assuming that I have any self-worth to worry about. I think that's a bad thing. I don't know. Whatever. What was I doing? Yeah, okay. All right.
If you have spent years, decades, your entire adult life in trying to come up with reasons, evidence, explanations, and everything about it has been under the auspice and the conviction that your position is true, and you are now considering your own self-worth and what you've done with your life. Well, if you've been wrong about what has served as a fundamental foundation to your entire existence and your mindset, your lifestyle, everything has been about evolution, chance, and ultimately there being no God, then it's going to mean, if you admit that you were incorrect, that everything you've done in your life was completely pointless.
I think that does protest too much. There's this study that has been done that the more people are like against homosexuals, the more likely it is that they are homosexual themselves. And so here you have a guy saying, like, you're afraid to find out that you're wrong. You're afraid. Maybe he's actually the one that's afraid of finding out that he's wrong because everything that he's saying applies to him. But this is cognitive dissonance in action. This is projection of my faults onto you. It's a perfect straw man. It's not me that has this belief that I can't ever challenge. It's you. You have this belief. I can challenge. I don't have anything to look. I have everything to gain by learning that I'm wrong. And as far as it being something that would make everything you've done pointless, That's just a blatant, outright lie. Hey, how's it going? No outright lie. No, nobody even remembers you anymore. But I want to talk. No, you can't talk. Sorry, it's an old thing that I had from other videos. I'm not going to explain the inside joke. Anyway, what was I saying? Shut up. Not everything that you did in life would be pointless. Not even necessarily the time and energy spent on the belief would be pointless. I know, because I deconverted from Christianity. It's like, look, yeah, I spent who knows how many hours in prayer and reading Bible and going to church, but that's not all pointless things. There was something at some level of benefit to those actions because they made me feel better in that moment. Or they made me feel sad, but that can be a relief as well, and that can be healing to some degree. So although I wish I'd spent the time in some other way, 2020 vision, I don't really, well, I kind of regret it in a sense, but there's nothing you can do with that. I don't view it as wasted time, though. I mean, it's just a really bad view you have on things. Like, even if you have a really big regret, it's like, well, at the time, if it's like that. It's just, man, this guy's all screwed up. Anyways, what was I? Oh, back to the Nimrod. I shouldn't call him a Nimrod because that would just be an ad value. I mean, you can be a Nimrod and have a valid and sound argument. He doesn't have a valid and sound argument. So.
And I can't imagine going through that mindset and trying to come to that realization. And it's why I say that they're so resistant to even considering alternatives, is because if they even accept that some of them might be true, then their entire life has been pointless. And that is a realistic fear.
I keep pausing at the wrong time. Again, no, my entire life would not be pointless. I mean, I've been an atheist 32, 33. 9 years. 9 years. So, and of those 9 years, I don't know how much time and energy I've spent on doing what I do on YouTube. But I certainly wouldn't consider it pointless, even if I was to convert into some theism. And if I was, that would mean that theism would have overwhelming evidence for it. And I'd be like, hey, everyone, look what I found. And I'd wind up getting a whole bunch of people to come along because we're all kind of in the same camp looking for evidence and going like, where is God over there? No. How about now? Oh, this guy said he had evidence of God. No, he doesn't. He's just another fucking bad argument. Oh, how about this guy? Nope. How about this person? No. We're looking for it. We would love to find it. We might not join the club, depending on what God it was. I don't know, but we would love it. We'd be like, wow, this is great. It would be like the biggest scientific thing ever. It would be fundamentally change our world because we'd be like, here, this is what God is. Blah, worship it. This is God. And we've proven it somehow, whatever that would be. And now we know. All hail Squishy. No, I don't like that. Oh, let's see if we have some name. All hail AY. There, that's its name. I don't know. Whatever. I got nothing. You come up with a name for the new god. Can't be your own name though. I named it AY because I saw AY in chat. Which I said that I would get to later. So I kind of lied a little because I did it just now, but I didn't know that I was going to do that, so it's not a lie. Anyways.
Third major fear I believe they have is having to change their actual perspective on life and just experience and what is going on in the world around them and how do they perceive it?
I'd welcome a change like that. And when I deconverted, I did have to change my perspective of things. I've talked about my deconversion every now and again. It wasn't easy. And it wasn't instant either. But there was a moment where it was just everything kind of clicked, and it was like there was this question of now what? And I'm reminded of this guy at a church I was going to, and I was starting to really question my faith and say there wasn't a God, and I was really angry and irritated at everyone and everything at the time. And I guess you could call it an angry atheist phase or something, because I still wasn't really sure. I wanted to keep my faith, but I also knew that there was nothing I could hold on to. And I said, I was telling the guy, whatever I was saying to him, I don't remember. And he was like, fine, I'll join you. Okay, now what? I agree. There's no God. Now what? And it was like, well, and I said, now we change the world. Well, it is, but then I am asking, when I came to that point where I was like, there's no God, or I don't believe in God, kind of both for me, I suppose, in the same moment, that I said, well, now what? And the "we'll change the world" bit that I said to that other guy, I wasn't really there because it just didn't seem like a thing that I could do. And maybe it's not a thing I can do. Maybe in a very small way, and maybe others can do it in a very large way, and maybe together we can all do it in a bigger way. We can all work towards a good goal regardless of beliefs or non-beliefs, hopefully. But I'm not afraid of that, because I love the truth. I love knowing what is true. I love having the facts. The beautiful thing with science, because you keep denying evolution here implicitly in your speech, is we can know that it's really true. We can know the things about the world through the methodology of science, and we get to know that it's really for real true. We don't have to have faith in it. We can know beyond any reasonable shadow of doubt that it's true. And that is pretty damn awesome. And if it happens to be that there's a God behind all of that, I want to know that. So your stupid, idiotic straw man that you've constructed, which is just a projection of your own fears, I think, I don't know for sure, but I'm not going to pretend to read your mind like you're pretending to read my mind, is completely and utterly incorrect. I am your counterexample. You'll never respond to this video. Well, maybe you'll prove me wrong at least there and actually respond to this video. But I doubt it.
So you have to think about it. If you've spent your entire life thinking there is nothing beyond this one, then you probably have had a completely different mindset as to how you approach things, whether it be
the afterlife thing is that could still be true without a God. You do understand that, right? I mean, like, I guess for some like for me, it was intertwined with my belief in God. When I stopped believing in God, I also stopped believing in an afterlife, and all the other supernatural stuff went with my belief. But technically speaking, you could be an atheist and still think there's an afterlife, and there might, for all I know, be some scientific precedent to there being a life after this life, but I don't know of anything like that. I don't think that there is any evidence of that, but who knows? Somebody might discover it. I doubt it, but I'd love to be surprised rather than not be anything at all. But I can't control whatever is or isn't. However reality is, that's what's going to be. And I guess really, there's a quote from Jean-Luc Picard of Star Trek Next Generation, and they ask him about death, and he says, some people think that it's you go into this, you transform into this undestroyable state where you live in paradise, and other people think that it's just you're gone, like a light being turned off. And he says, but I think it's more than either of these. So maybe it's more than anything that we can even think of. Who knows? I don't know. But you don't need a God for that to be a belief or to actually wind up being what's real. But we don't have any evidence that it is. So there's no really a reason to believe that it is. But if you had any evidence that there was a thing after this particular life, that would be great. But you don't. Otherwise, you would give it to us. And you haven't.
Relationships, accomplishments, legacy, all of those different things. There's nothing beyond this world. And there's no other reason for existence other than being here by accident.
By accident, I mean, to some degree, I suppose. But, then there's the whole filtering mechanism and all that. But yeah, I mean, if that's the case, so what? This is just an appeal to consequence. It's like, I don't like that we're all here by chance, therefore we can't be here by chance. Like that believing in an afterlife somehow makes it that you can sleep at night or something like that. It's like, well, that might be the reason to believe in it for you, but for me, I'd rather know the truth and be afraid than to believe a comforting lie. Let's see, 6, 7, 8, 9, 3 minutes to go. Should I look in on chat? I mean, I said I would wait until I'm not done ranting yet, so I'm gonna speed him up. That's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, I'm gonna speed him up. How do we do that? There we go. So let's see. There it is. Yeah. Okay, here we go. No, I pressed the wrong way. Oh no!
He's going to have been dramatically different than the person who felt there was something much more to their existence than this, and that the time we spend in the human body is nothing but a learning experience for what comes beyond when we go into the next life. And when I thought,
hold on, that was way too fast to respond to anything. I was wrong. I was wrong to speed it up. My bad, everybody. I apologize. Okay, I want to go back
to their existence than this,
right.
And that the time we spend in the human body is nothing but a learning experience for what comes beyond when we go into the next life. And
okay, that is insane. What in the possible anything could you hope to learn here that you couldn't learn there? Especially if you have all of eternity in that next life. There's literally nothing that you couldn't learn or it's just a bald assertion. All right. I bet he says more stuff that irritates me. All right, but I'm kind of tired. Should I keep going? I should keep going. No. Yes, I should.
And I thought about this quite a bit because I almost died about 7 years ago, and I've thought about that a lot in the time since then, of how I was able to have a much different perception of the trials and struggles and the ups and downs, and all the things that happened to me after those health issues I went through. That if I had,
did you almost die? I mean, normally I grant social contract on claims like this, but I mean, you said health. I mean, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, I guess that might change your perspective on things, but that's not really relevant to anything, to be honest. So,
not had faith and belief and trust, and also had gone down and looked for evidence and explanations for why I might be going through these types of things from a much bigger perspective than I live in this finite world.
When you go looking for evidence to explain something, there can be a danger there. Especially if you think, well, I need to explain this experience. And you start looking up saying like, I thought I died. Near-death experience is going to pop up. Ooh, that sounds good. Ooh. And then you're down the woo hole before you know it. So you got to be really, really careful. And instead of trying to explain this experience, maybe you should say, okay, is there a way to evaluate this? Is there a way to test it? Is there a way to know that, is this anything that a brain can't normally do? Let's look at what science has to say, not just not a little Google search on it, but you got to be really careful because your bias will feed into your beliefs, and it will build up your beliefs, like, especially if you're already kind of believing that there's an afterlife or whatever, and then you have you feel like, I'm about to die because you're really sick or whatever, and then you're going to try to explain all that, and then you're just going to wind up reinforcing your own beliefs rather than looking at things that might say that it's wrong. And he's like, I wanted something that would go outside this little finite box. He's not happy with the finite box, but that might be the box that we're in. So he's already in his brain not quite content with this. So then by looking for things, he's going to find things that confirm his bias. This is why you should apply the scientific method. Try to disprove your hypothesis and instead of proving it. This is why you should actually learn actual logic, not just pretend that you know what logic is.
I probably would have cracked. And I actually had the opportunity to speak with a lot of folks in going through similar types of struggles. And it was very interesting to me how so many of them who did not have any kind of perspective other than this is it, were just so overwhelmed and crushed by the struggles they were going through, when if you look at it from a bigger perspective, how heavy it is, how big it is, how overloading these kinds of struggles in life can be, become much smaller and much, not necessarily easier to handle, but much less overwhelming than when you live in that finite space.
Well, your personal accounts that you didn't record in any meaningful way that I can't possibly hope to verify don't have any bearing at all on any sort of attempt at any argument that you would hope to offer, which you haven't offered us any argument. You haven't given us any argument that we are, in fact, afraid of being wrong as atheists. You just said that these are things that you think are the case. So these are not real reasons, nor could they ever be, and this isn't an argument. So I don't care. Now, if you had actually done some sort of study where you were like, where you would, polled people and you got data spreadsheets of, people that have been involved in scary situations or whatever, and let's see how the atheists do, let's see how the non-atheists do, and then we have some sort of measurement and some sort of data to look at. That might be interesting to see, but you didn't do that, so none of the things that you said matter. And in fact, I could do the same thing right back. I'm like, all the atheists that I've spoken to are perfectly happy with life being it. It's like, look, that's what gives it meaning. That's what gives it value. This show that just ended, that I've been watching, The Good Place, had it right on the money. And spoilers if you haven't seen it, but they realized that eternity would get boring, so they put in a way to exit eternity, to stop existing, and that makes the afterlife worth existing in until you've done everything and you're ready to stop existing. So, in a similar way, the end makes this more worthwhile and perhaps gives us a strength that the theist lacks. I don't know. Don't have any studies or data on it, so I'm not going to assert that it's one way or the other. But you did. So stop doing that.
And so when you really think about that in the context of what you hear from the atheists, the evolutionists, and all these people who are...
I'd love to just, every time he says the word evolutionist, just like give him an electric shock or something.
The skeptics.
What about skeptics?
They are, in my opinion, afraid that if it turns out that, number one, they are accountable to a higher power.
If I'm I don't know why I would be accountable to a higher power, or what the hell that means, other than, like laws in the land. Like, you mean God? Like, why would God even care what I did or didn't do? It's God. It doesn't need me to do or not do anything. It's God. Right? Like, how would I be accountable to it? Why? How would that function? How would that work? How would I know that? What would that... It'd be, hey, God, what does that mean? What's that? You didn't say anything. Okay, I guess I'm not accountable to this thing then, because it didn't tell me that I was.
And number two, their entire, not necessarily the entirety of their life, but a huge portion of their life has
You said entire before. You can't change it now.
Been almost pointless. Then being forced to change their entire perspective, that is a reasonable fear, and it would be very difficult to overcome.
Not afraid at all. Not even a little. So bring on your best evidence, which you didn't do here. So you know what? There's a minute left. I wonder if in that minute, maybe he's going to give us that evidence, the repeatable test, and the valid and sound argument.
Unless you truly accept that there is more to this life, and you don't have to view it as a very short temporal experience, and then there is nothing after that.
Oh no! I mean, that's reality. It's just, I accept reality as it presents itself. I don't need to pretend that it's different than it is, and I'm fine in finding out that it isn't what I thought it was, and I'm not afraid of any of that. So I don't know what to tell you, man. You're just wrong.
For taking the time to watch this video.
Okay, he's done. He's done. He's not going to give us anything. I just know if I stop it now, though, somebody's going to be like, oh, you didn't watch the whole thing. So fuck.
Fears of atheists and evolutionists. I hope it spoke to you. I hope it really
it spoke to me.
And makes you think about whether or not the conclusions that are being reached by the atheists and the skeptics and the evolutionists are neither logical, plausible, or probable. Make sure you subscribe down below. Leave some comments, like, share. Much appreciate you engaging with my channel. And I hope that you will check us out for our next video. That's it for this episode. Come back for more logical, plausible, probable.
Okay, he didn't. He didn't. I went through the whole video just to make sure. No. Okay, I got to the end. I got to the end. Nobody can say I didn't get to the end. All right. At no point in the entirety of that video did you offer us any evidence for anything that you said, nor did you offer us any methodology to show that you're correct. No test of these ideas was given. And as far as a logical argument, woo, you are so gone on that. It's not even funny. You perform multiple logical fallacies, mostly of mind reading, straw man, and simply projection. These fears that you talk about do not exist in me, and even if they did, you wouldn't know that because you can't read my mind. So, saying this is the case is simply a bald assertion, and you don't even have an argument at all in this video, not even a thing that even resembles an argument. So, no evidence, no test, no argument. We have to be skeptical of your conclusions. All right, now I'm done with that. Time to look at chat, see what happened while I was not looking at chat. I bet I missed a lot of things. Maybe, I don't know. Let's see. Hello! Hi. Howdy. All right. People agreeing with me. See, yeah. See, Blaster Master 80 says, it's funny. I was just talking about this guy to my wife, and here you are, DM, making a video on him. Well, that must mean that I have special powers or something. Sure, why not? Go for it, Deco. Deco. Okay. Let's see. Protection me around. Yeah, there. Yeah. But you know, you gotta, you know. I mean, that comment. There you go. What? Deco demands a lobster. This is the truth. So there, I caught up with chat. I was wrong. I thought like I'd have a lot of people saying stuff, but I don't. That's fine. I don't, you know, whatever. Did we learn anything from this? No, we didn't learn anything. Did I waste your time? I don't know. Did I entertain you? I can't see a fucking thing in this. Oops, I clicked on that again. I didn't mean to do that. So, that's all I've got, I guess. Thanks for watching and listening to me rant about this video and this guy that this guy's other wife had talked about of too. And like, his wife was probably like, "Ow, why? No, my brain." And then she was like, I don't know, other things that are straw men that I can't do straw. I mean, unlike this guy, I actually care about logic, so I can't just straw man stuff. So that's all I've got. That's all I've got. Goodbye, everybody. I am Confucio.